All right, 7:15 on the dot here on a Monday evening, everyone. Good Monday evening. Hopefully most of you have managed to stay dry out there. I'm Fox 19 Now First Alert meteorologist Brad Maushart here from the Fox 19 Streaming Center. And we have some rain pushing through. Well, again, a lot of us were dry most of the day today, maybe a few showers this morning. Some breaks this afternoon, but the storms are pushing back in. A few rumbles of thunder out there right now. We'll track those for you coming up here in just a second. Let's talk some numbers first. Today's weather number 268. It has been 268 days since we last hit 90 degrees or higher here in Cincinnati, officially at the airport. That was back last time, September 21st, 2024, when we hit 94 degrees. It's been below 90 ever since. That is going to likely change as we work our way into the first official weekend of summer. We've had some summer-like humidity. I mean, it's really humid outside right now. Feels like temperatures today have been in the 90s, but better chances for the actual 90s. It feels like temperatures in the mid-90s will arrive this weekend. It comes after another good chance for some strong storms. That's what we're going to be keeping an eye on Wednesday night into Thursday morning. Storms are likely for that day, but severe storms are possible. So not everybody will see the severe weather, but there is a good chance for it. That's why Wednesday will be our next first alert weather day. We're trying to get that alert to you first, that some stronger storms will be on the way. So something to keep an eye on as we work away into midweek. Right now, temperature-wise, again, not terrible. You're looking at this, you're like, upper 70s, low 80s, that's nothing. But when you start to factor in dew points or in the low to mid 70s, that is soupy, if not tropical. That's the air you can wear. At times, it has felt like the low to mid 90s today. Right now, a little cooler. I say cooler, 88 still. Feels like temperature at Lebanon, Falmouth, 85. And we do have some storms with all that heat and humidity firing up. We have some that are close to downtown. I'm just going to take control here and start driving around. This is a storm activity we have that's close to downtown. It's light to moderate rainfall. No rumbles of thunder here. A good downpour just southeast of Sims Township there. You can see near Miami Grove. And, lovely Loveland, Miamiville Road, rather, Ward's Corner, and that's all pushing off of the east. Again, just some little heavier rainfall there. Nothing severe expected through the night tonight. Off into southeast Indiana, Fayette, Union counties, both seeing and experiencing some good downpours there. There was one lightning strike I saw from a different source in this area. Let me see. I do have it turned on. I don't see that lightning strike showing up here, but there was a strike earlier near the northern half there of Brookville Lake. Moving around, we have more rain and some storms down here to our southwest. This is all pushing up to the northeast. Let's put this into motion. You'll see how this is kind of progressing here. Not holding together entirely. I know it looks like it's going to be a washout here for this evening, but more of us are going to stay dry than not. You can see how that rain kind of falls apart just a little bit as it starts to push its way, especially look up here towards Ripley County. I put my little pointer on here. You can see how that rain starts to fall apart a little bit. These storms ahead of the line are what we call pulse-type thunderstorms, or just pulse-type downpours. They pulse up very quickly. They form within about 30 minutes. They hold together for a few minutes, and then over the next 30 minutes, they start to fall apart. There's just nothing to sustain these storms. So they're what we call pulse-type. They pulse up, pulse down very quickly, usually all within about an hour span. So if you do get wet, it's usually not going to last very long, really just enough to be a nuisance outside. Let's hop out and show you a little wider view of what's going on here across the country. Let me switch products here. We'll turn on the satellite and the radar. And again, that's what's moving in right now, just another slug of light to moderate rainfall falling apart a little bit as it pushes its way in. Not everybody will get wet from this. We'll have a few more storms down here, what we're seeing down in Paducah and northern Tennessee. That arrives after midnight tonight, so you could have a few rumbles of thunder through the overnight hours. Again, nothing severe, nothing likely to be severe. If we do see anything, it'll be very, marginal damaging wind issue, but again, that's going to be more mist than hit outside tonight. This is our first of two storm systems that's going to be impacting us this week. This one will stick with us through the night tonight. It'll stick with us through the afternoon hours tomorrow. More scattered storms are likely as this storm system rolls off to the east. So again, that's low pressure system number one of this week. Not likely to see much in the way of strong or severe storms, but it doesn't have to be strong or severe to cause problems. We've had this before where it's just poorly timed for the morning drive. There will be a chance for some downpours tomorrow morning. Expect some slowdowns. There's a better chance for downpours tomorrow afternoon as you're trying to leave work and head back home. So just be aware of that. Our other storm system, as you can see up here to the northwest, we kind of got a two-pack, two low-pressure systems that are back here to the northwest. one of which is in Wyoming, the other pushing through Minnesota. You can see all the severe storms with that. These two in combination are going to bring us a little bit more of a punch, and that will arrive, again, Wednesday night into Thursday, and that's when we have our first alert weather day. So something to keep an eye on as we work our way into midweek. The early look ahead, again, going to jump around here just a little bit and take this a little bit more casually today. It just takes it a second sometimes to load. But what you're seeing here is the Storm Prediction Center severe weather outlook for Wednesday. That slight risk, a big one, and encompasses much of the Great Lakes and into even the southern plains, really, stretching all the way from the Mitten all the way back down into Oklahoma and just the northern fringe communities there of Texas. We are included in that, especially our southeastern Indiana communities, but you can see we're kind of on the edge of it. And when you have storms that are going to be tracking from west to east through this area, generally what that means is the storms, on the west end of that's where the storms are first going to become strong. And when you start to get a little bit further off and things are tapering off there, we go from a slight to the marginal, the yellow to the green from, over Cincinnati. These storms as they push in are going to be weakening a little bit. I don't want you to give your, let your guard down to say, oh, well, that means, okay, we're not going to see anything. You will see some storms out there. Some of them could be on the strong side. The greatest threat for that is going to be across central Indiana, at least anywhere close to us, right? And that line of storms will likely hold together as it pushes closer to our westernmost communities. Let me get rid of the arrows. I know those are distracting. Sorry. But our southeastern Indiana communities, especially Decatur, Fayette counties, Franklin County, Ripley County, all going to see some stronger storms. That line generally weaker, but note the rest of the tri-state, the severe threat does not drop off entirely. We are under a marginal risk downtown. That's a 1 out of 5. And we've had days before where those storms just held together just a little bit longer and caused some problems. So biggest threats with this are going to be damaging wind, large hail. That's the threat this go round. Not really a big tornado threat with this, so you can't rule out the spin-ups along the leading edge of some of the damaging wind events. Again, late Wednesday into Thursday morning in terms of timing. Strong and severe storms. That is why it is a first alert weather day for your day Wednesday. Ahead of that, this is one of the models. I'll show you the other one here in just a second, but this is the graph. It's the weather company's house model showing you the spotty storms out there tomorrow morning. Again, more mist than hit, but where you do get hit, it is going to slow things down. So just be prepared for the worst out there. You know how it is with Tuesdays. We'll catch some breaks into the afternoon, the early afternoon, but after 1 o'clock, you see tomorrow things start to fire back up with some daytime heating. These storms on Tuesday, not likely to be severe. Can't rule out. You might have one storm pulse briefly to severe criteria, but again, these are just going to be garden variety nuisances through the afternoon and evening hours, and then we start to dry back out a little bit into Wednesday. Hold on, it's going to skip forward really quick on us. Try to back this up just a little bit. Through Wednesday morning, we start Wednesday pretty dry. More of us are dry than not. Can't rule out a stray shower, but most of us are dry there. We'll fast forward a little bit into the afternoon, and you can see here, let me back it up just a bit. There will be a fair amount of sunshine through the early afternoon hours. Let's hop back to what I was trying to show you here. So you can see by noon, 1, 2 o'clock, sunshine on a day when you're expecting some stronger storms. Not a great sign. The reason being, it allows that heat to build down at the surface. And when that heat builds down at the surface, warm air naturally wants to rise. This is what we call instability in the weather world. And when you can see some of that warm air rising, it's going to be the fuel for some of those thunderstorms in the afternoon. You just need the trigger to set those storms off, and that is going to be that low pressure system off to the west in Wyoming and up towards Minnesota. It's going to drag a cold front into the area. Ahead of that front, we could certainly see by 1 to 2 o'clock a few storms popping up, and these do have the potential to be strong or severe. But they're going to be more mist than hit early on. The better storm chances will arrive late Wednesday night. And we're looking at the system that's just now on the left side of the screen there, starting to push in. As we work away towards, 6, 7, 8 o'clock, yeah, we could have some downpours Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday evening, but it's going to be more mist than hit. The later we get in the night, the better the storm chances get. And look how off to the west initially here, there's a lot of red, even some magenta there just north of the Louisville area at the bottom of the screen, indicating very strong storms, a kind of a broken line as it pushes in. And it's more intense off to the west, but then as it pushes east towards downtown, we lose a lot of that red, more so just orange and yellow, again indicating lesser intensity. And then as it pushes east even further, it kind of falls apart altogether by the time it, heads east and out of town. So that's just that weakening I was telling you about. Well, that's why most of southeast Indiana is under a slight risk, and while the rest of the tri-state is under a marginal. Is it going to play out exactly that way? Probably not, because this is just a weather model, and they're never 100% right. They get us a good idea of what to expect, but they're never going to pinpoint those storms entirely. We'll hang on to a few lingering storms into early Thursday morning. Those storms should be sub-severe, but enough to cause, like I said, you don't have to have severe storms to have issues out there. And we'll see that into early Thursday morning. Now, good news is, good news, bad news. It is Bad News Brad here on Monday, so you never know what you're going to get. But that's all the bad news. By Thursday afternoon, we're drying back out. Here's the good news. We are going to stay dry Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Looks like a really nice stretch out there for the weekend. The timing is going to be good. You're saying, uh-oh, where's he going to get us? Here's the bad news as we dry back out. This is a cold front, but it's what I like to call a slightly cooler than hot front because it is not going to cool down. Temperatures are going to go up and up into the weekend. The first day of summer is Friday. The first weekend of summer, we have a high temperature Friday of 84, 86 on Saturday, 90 degrees, our first 90-degree temperature. I told you, we have not seen a 90-degree temperature here in Cincinnati for 268 days. That will change. That streak will end at, let's see, hold on, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 73. It'll get to about 273 days before we break that streak on Sunday with a high temperature of 90 degrees. Now, that's half the story. Humidity values are going to be miserable outside this weekend. We're talking dew points in the 70s, so you combine those two, feels like temperatures are going to be in the mid to upper 90s. It is going to be a scorcher on Sunday. Just really humid. If you're fine with that, that's fine. Just make sure to take plenty of outdoor breaks. If you're going to be out and about, drink plenty of water, stay hydrated. This is our first real blast of summer heat and humidity. We've had a few, and it's go outside right now, it's humid. Right, but we're talking 90s with the high humidity, so kind of like South Florida heat out there for this weekend. Just stay cool, stay hydrated. Other than that, looks like a really nice weekend. Monday, slim chance for storms, but most of us are dry, almost for a 4-day stretch coming up. That was one model I showed you. Let's see. The other one is not out far enough yet. We'll have another idea of this, but this one shows you, I think it has a better handle on today's system. You can see how some of those storms fire up through the evening hours tonight. Again, nothing severe likely from these. That model brings in more rain again tomorrow morning, just in time for that morning drive to slow things down and make your Tuesday a terrible one. At least it's going to try, right? Catch some breaks in the afternoon, some more storms trying to pop back up. You see they become pretty widespread by 2 to 3 o'clock. Drive home, expect some slowdowns outside. You know how it is. Again, still not expecting anything severe, and then we catch a little bit of a break. Now, give me a second because it's going to speed ahead on me. This one will take us through early Wednesday morning. You can see we're mostly dry by midday. That's as far as this model goes out. We'll have a better idea with this one tomorrow again when we have more time on that model. But through midday, most of Wednesday, nice and dry and plenty of sunshine. Again, don't let your guard down with that. That is expected. That will allow the atmosphere to charge up for the evening threat. That is when we'll see those stronger storms. So with that said, let's hop to things that are happening on Wednesday, including, I don't know if anybody was down there, pretty good crowd, 21,000 people were down at TQL Stadium for the Bayern match as they played Auckland. It was really nice. The weather held off all the storms on Sunday. As expected, we're off to the southeast. We had some lightning, I think, within about 30 miles of the stadium, which isn't close enough to prompt any kind of weather delays. So that was nice. Glad it held off for Father's Day for everybody. Hopefully you got your plans in just fine, in most cases. If you were southeast of town, obviously it was a little harder dodging some of those storms. But most of the weekend, a lot of spots stayed dry. But the areas that got hit, they got hit pretty hard. Wednesday at 6 p.m., as we showed you on that one model, it is going to be more mist than hit. I do think we get this game in, this match. It's going to be Pachuca out of Mexico and Salzburg out of Austria. Red Bull Salzburg and Pachuca. One of these times I'm going to be able to say these clubs right. CF Pachuca out of Mexico and then FC Salzburg out of Austria are going to be playing in the FIFA Club World Cup. It's like the World Cup, except instead of countries, it's clubs. That match is going to be a sultry one. And of course, this is on the first alert weather day, so if you have plans to head down to this match, you don't have to cancel the plans. Just be cautious out there. I think the better chances for the stronger storms ramp up as we head towards the latter half of that match, and especially in the late evening. We're talking 10, 11 o'clock, so that game kicks at 6, should be over by about 8:30, and you should be heading home before 9. But if you're leaving and heading west, you'll probably run into some storms out there. Can't rule out an isolated storm for the pre-match, and the kickoff, but for most of us, it should just be mostly cloudy, muggy, mild, and another decent night as long as you're not the person running around on the field and sweating it out. If you have to run up the stairs, make sure you get yourself a water too, because it will be pretty warm out there for that event. Speaking of, here come the high temperatures. Now, after a brief cool down, if you want to call it that, the cold front will drop us all the way down to a chilly 81 on Thursday. It's only going to give us a subtle break in the humidity as well for Thursday. Then the humidity, the temperatures, they're ramping up. First day of summer on Friday, 84 degrees. That's already above normal. Normal for this time of the year is 83. 84 on Friday, 86 Saturday, 90s. First of the year, and the first, and what'll be 273 days for Sunday. And then you start to factor in the high humidity. Feels like temperatures mid to upper 90s. Sunday and Monday. It'll feel like the low to mid 90s Saturday. That's another World Cup match, Club World Cup match. I think it's a team, again, I did not write this down. I'm not even going to try to butcher it, but it's a team from the club from South Africa. They're here, and they're playing Borussia Dortmund, the other German club that's here playing this go-round of the Club World Cup. They're playing on Saturday. Sultry. It's going to be dry. That'll be a nice one, as long as you find a shady spot in the stadium. I think it's another noon kick for that match. So a lot going on. We have one more match after that. That's going to be the following Wednesday, the 25th. It's also Borussia Dortmund, and I think there's a South Korean club that they play that day. As you can tell, I'm keeping up to date on these games really well. Let's take a look at the extended forecast. Let me just squeeze back just a little bit. Again, normal this time of the year, temperature-wise, 83 degrees. Working our way past the 7-day forecast. Like I told you, we're in the 90s Sunday and Monday. General outlook from June 24th, that starts next Tuesday, running all the way basically through the end of the month. We are going to see above normal, if not well above normal temperatures. So that's probably close to 90 in most cases. Not the whole time. We could see a little brief cool down here and there, but more often than not, through the 8 to 14-day outlook for us, it is going to be above or well above normal temperatures. If you want to get below normal temperatures, head to where it's normally steamy, out in Arizona, which for them below normal might as well just be like 95. So really, really warm out here across the Ohio Valley and much of the Mid-Atlantic. That runs through the end of this month. So we're not going to catch many breaks. So enjoy the slightly cooler day today, if you want to call it that. And the little bit of a cool down, the rain-cooled day we'll see tomorrow. I have us tomorrow. Here is your full forecast here, and I have the right one pulled up this time. 78 degrees. That's our coolest temperature for the foreseeable future. Tomorrow, a rain and storm-cooled 78. And, of course, it's rain-cooled because the Reds are back in town. Reds are playing the Minnesota Twins there Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So, of course, we're battling rain each of those days, with the exception of Thursday. That rain clears out by the morning hours, and the afternoon will be dry. I'm sure that, I haven't looked, but I'm sure that it has to be a midday game, right, for Thursday. It probably is, and, by the time we hit midday, I think we're storm-free. But going to be a little dicey out there for both Tuesday and Wednesday if you're headed to the Reds game. Of course, Club World Cup, that's what that other gold icon is. If you can't read it, you've seen it there on the map there last week for the Bayern match on Sunday for Father's Day. That's what that is. We have that match Wednesday at 6 over at TQL Stadium. We have another match on Saturday, the first weekend of summer, looking like summer outside. It is going to be sultry this weekend. 86 on Saturday. I am glad I am not running around on the field. It doesn't matter how much electrolytes you have, that has got to be tough. 90 degrees outside for Sunday, hot, humid. Reds are back in town for another series. Couldn't tell you who they play, but they're here Monday of next week too, and those temperatures are going to stay warm. Let's hop over. Let's see if we got any comments going on. Complaint suggestions, probably. Pouring in Union County, yeah, so a few people out here talking about the rain you're seeing right now. Let me get back to the radar and we'll see what's happening out here. Hopefully everybody's having a mostly dry Monday. It looks like that'll change for many of us as we work way through the evening. We'll give this a second to load. How bad is it going to get in Aurora on Wednesday? So Tina and everybody else over here talking about Wednesday because it'll all pop up. The further west you are, generally the stronger the storms can be on Wednesday. It looks like that line will be weakening as it pushes from central Indiana into the tri-state. So it's still going to likely pack a punch out there, even in Dearborn County, western Hamilton County, and then generally weaken from there. Because what's going to happen, that line's going to push in, the sun will set, these storms will lose a lot of their fuel source, and they'll slowly start to fall apart as they push in late in the evening. But damaging wind, again, it's not going to be a severe weather outbreak, but we'll see some stronger storms, and damaging wind will be the biggest threat there, Tina, and for everybody else. The further east you get, it's not that you can't see severe storms, because everybody at least is under a marginal risk. It just means that threat is a little lower as those storms generally weaken off to the east. Somebody mentioned it is pouring in Union County. Yes, it is. Fayette and Union counties both right now. Union County being the other one here over towards the Brownsville area, Roseburg. And eventually, that general area on the right side of the screen is Union County, Fayette County on the left, seeing a good downpour just south of Connorsville, between Connorsville and Alpine, and over towards the southwestern corner of the area. So, yes, it is pouring. In terms of rainfall totals up in that area today so far, and this is pretty much all within the last, hour or so as that rain has been there. Already an estimated 2 inches plus, so can't rule out some localized flooding out there tonight. These storms aren't severe, but as I mentioned before on the stream and many other times on air, you don't have to have severe storms this time of the year to cause a problem when you have this much moisture in the air for these storms to work with. Over in Union County between Brownsville and Roseburg, almost an inch of rainfall there. That's the northern end. You can see Brookville Lake there in the screen. Almost an inch of rainfall. If you do come across any high water on State Route 1 there, or 121 leaving Connorsville, don't drive into that. Just find another way around. You don't want to try to see how deep that water is. That is so far the rainfall totals of that away. The other storm that was briefly intense just west of Lawrenceburg and south of Guilford there, where 48 and 148 meet. Some good rainfall there. And then it fell apart the second it started to push through Lawrenceburg and into southwestern Ohio. That storm dropped an estimated 1 inch of rainfall. What else do we have out there in terms of rain totals? We had some heavier rain earlier here off to the east. In northern Brown County, another estimated probably 1 inch there. Georgetown probably saw almost an inch of rain. And that is all it took. But look how much more rain off to the south they're seeing down that way. If I put an aerial kind of query on this and just see what the average is over this area, average estimate of 1.3 inches. And if we're talking the green was getting 1 inch of rainfall, those oranges and reds, I forget exactly what the color scheme is. I don't think it's 5, but I'll query some individual results. I know it's up in the banner there, but I feel like that seems like it's a little too high. We'll see. We'll just start clicking around. I'm clicking just by the 65 sign there. Yeah, over 4 inches of rain. So not another question. That's why they had a few flood. I don't know if those were flash flood warnings earlier down here. Let me see. Let's see what we got going on. That's what happens when you get busy watching the news. Elizabethtown, they have, it looks like a flash flood warning that away. Let's query that, and I'll show you what's going on. That is a considerable, that's why it has the white outline there. Considerable flash flood warning for Hardin County, Kentucky. If you have any plans to take you down the 65 corridor, down that way with an estimated 4 to 5 inches of rainfall, they are probably seeing some standing water and some slowdowns on 65. By the time you're leaving now and you got there, about 2 hours away maybe. Hour and a half, 2 hours. Maybe the rain will let up a bit, maybe good drainage on the interstate, but expect some slowdowns if you have to head that way tonight for whatever reason. The other one is just a regular flash flood warning, which is bad enough on its own, for Hardin and LaRue counties in Kentucky. So that's outside of the area, but they had some flooding down there. And that's just, like I said, don't have to have severe storms that cause problems out there any day. This time of the year with all this heat and all the moisture. We have another good little downpour starting to pop up over here. Let's see how long it took this guy to develop. Like we mentioned, these are kind of what we call pulse-type storms. They pulse up very quickly, pulse down very quickly, like the storm that has fallen apart in the eastern part of the loop. You can see here over just west of Milford where it says 275 there on your screen. That storm quickly fell apart, and then it launched probably a little mini outflow boundary. The cold air rushes out, and you get a new storm that developed just off to the north of that now, just pushing north of Goshen. That one will pulse up, and probably within the next hour that storm will fall apart, maybe even before it reaches Harlan Township, but we'll see. Let's see. So we answered that. Yep, Chevy, it's quiet for now. Do you think the severe weather level will be increased for Wednesday? Jen asking if she thinks that this slight risk here, boom, there it goes, will be increased. The only thing I think they'll do with this, like I said, it doesn't look like a significant, when I say significant, it's all really dependent. Really, it only takes one tree, a bad tree to fall on your roof, and then anything's significant, right? it does not look like a widespread severe weather outbreak, I guess. I'll put it that way. So the only thing I think they're going to do with this, if they adjust it at all, they'll be keeping an eye on the high-resolution models that come in tomorrow, and they'll kind of decide, okay, at what point is this line, because after sunset, just depending on timing, if it speeds up a few hours, they might push the slight risk a little bit farther off to the east. If it slows down a little bit, and that means it gets here later, well after sunset, it's going to have less fuel to work with, and it's probably going to be a little weaker a little sooner. So they might adjust just, I'm not the Storm Prediction Center. If I'm them, there's a lot of things they think about. But if I'm just kind of, guessing on what they would do, it would be a matter of timing with this, and that would adjust where the line is. Not necessarily an increased level to an enhanced or anything, because I don't think that'll happen, at least not in our area. Doesn't look like that kind of storm system, but if they think that line is going to hold together a little bit better because it's getting in a little bit sooner, maybe they push the slight risk to include Cincinnati. But like I said, you don't need severe storms, either way to cause any problems outside. So that's what we're keeping an eye on for Wednesday. Another question came in, is Oxford weather looking okay? So you are under the slight risk up there in northwestern Butler County for Wednesday night. It's a 2 out of 5. Again, not anything you need to panic over, but we do have a threat for some damaging wind outside. That's the biggest threat we'll see from these storms. You could see some large hail upwards of, 1 inch or so. Golf balls, basically. That would be severe hail. Yeah, you don't want to see that. But again, this does not look to me, and that famous last words, does not look to me to be a gigantic issue for the area. But it's a threat, so take it seriously. If you have the outdoor plans, be extra cautious with that. You don't want to get stuck outside in even just a garden variety storm. And if obviously, with how soggy it's been in a lot of spots, some spots it's been feast or famine. Some spots have picked up a couple inches of rain. Butler County, southern Butler County, picked up almost 4 to 6 inches of rainfall Saturday in just a few hours. So where the heavy rain has fallen, keep a very close eye out for stuff, because if it's that saturated and we see another couple inches of rain in those spots, it could lead to the water coming up pretty quick. All right. So there is a slight risk for you in Oxford tomorrow, as well as the rest of southeast Indiana. Is it something we need to panic over? No. The slight risk is big. As we talked about earlier, I'm zooming out. Give me a second here. Stretches all the way from the mitten there, all the way back down into Texas. We are just a little part of that. We're on the fringe of the slight risk. Marginal risk for everybody else, and that line should generally weaken as it approaches downtown. So that's the one piece of good news there. But our southeast Indiana communities, you're in line to see some of those stronger storms moving in late in the day Wednesday. A few storms are possible ahead of that, but the bigger threat arrives late Wednesday night. All right, I'm going to go get something to eat. I'm going to have more tonight at 10 and 11. You are stuck with me tonight and tomorrow night. Steve, who I don't know if he's watching. I haven't looked to see if he's tuning in. Steve accidentally came into work today. I should have lied and said, no, Steve, you are absolutely working this evening. I could have had a half a day. But I didn't. And Steve said, what did he say? And I quote, I needed the shave anyway. So he accidentally came back early from a vacation. He left promptly upon realizing his mistake, but he will be back Wednesday to help guide us through this severe weather event. He was planning on coming back Wednesday anyway, so Steve, your timing is impeccable. We have the Reds in town, so we're going to be busy with that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. The Twins are here playing the Reds, and of course, as is tradition, there will be storm chances each of those days. Good chance for some strong storms late Wednesday night. That'll be the night we'll really have to keep an eye on, especially west of downtown. Thursday, it's not all bad news. There is some good news. I'm going to pull this up full screen so you have to stop looking at me. Here we go. That storm activity clears out early Thursday. By Thursday afternoon, the sun is back, and we will see a brief drop in humidity. I know there's a rain icon there on Thursday, but Thursday night, that will be your most comfortable night for the foreseeable future. Because by the first day of summer there on Friday, summer officially begins Friday, it is going to feel like it. 84 Friday, the humidity is returning for the weekend. We're talking dew points in the mid-70s. With 86 degrees or 90 degrees, actual air temperature is going to feel Miserable. 86 on Saturday, another Club World Cup match featuring German club Borussia Dortmund and a team out of South Africa, which I did not write down. I can almost see it. It'll come to me in a minute. But either way, looks like a nice match if you're not the person running around in the field chasing the balls around. I did have one more question come in about Wednesday's threats, asking about tornadoes. You cannot rule out a tornado, but these are not the long-lived variety. It's just not a setup for that. This is going to be the more of the spin-ups on the leading edge of some of these damaging wind events. So if you're on the leading edge of these storms that are diving in late Wednesday night, yes, you could see a spin-up. But it is certainly far from our biggest threat. The biggest threat will be a widespread damaging wind. If we see a solid line diving in Wednesday night, and it's bowing out, it's going to be a big severe weather wind event for Wednesday. But that's our biggest threat. Hail, second to that, and then down the line, flooding is also going to be a second. Just with how soggy it's been in a few spots, and of course we have that tornado threat. But it's just a very, very slim threat. It would be a little spin up on the leading edge of these storms. Not to say that can't be a problem. It certainly is, but it's just a lower end threat than any of the damaging wind we would see. Summer, hot, summer-like. Steamy start, 90 degrees Sunday. Get that air conditioner serviced if you haven't had a look at it lately or had to turn it on. I imagine by now most of you have turned it on. It's been pretty warm outside. If you've been holding off for whatever reason, I doubt you're going to make it past this weekend. 90 degrees outside. You'll turn the AC on for sure. Our next chance of rainfall coming back, of course, when the Reds are back again. No problem, Shelley. 90 degrees outside there next Monday. I'm going to go get some food before this rain pushes back in. I'll leave this up for a minute, this radar, just so you can kind of see what's going on here area-wide. If not, by the way, actually, you know what? Before we do that, shameless self-promotion. Let's let this load for a second. I'll come back to this. Just can't get away from the screen here. Shameless plug. By the way, thank you so much to all of you for helping me get to 19,000 Facebook. That is not the one I wanted. Why is it loading that? Anyway, that is not what I wanted. 19,000 on Facebook. Maybe it'll load this time. Here we go. Bad News Brad, if you want to follow me on Facebook and become 19,001, you can do that. I think we're already up to that point, though, but you could be in the 19,000 range. Get there before all your friends do. Follow me on Facebook. You can just search for Brad Maushart if you don't want to try to spell out meteorologist. I know that's kind of a struggle, even for me. Just search for Brad Maushart. I'll pop up. If you are on the Twitter, which is now X, whatever you want to call it, I don't do much on there, but you can follow me there. It's Brad with 3 A's, Brad Maushart. Weather there, BRAAADWX. And then you can follow me on the Instagram. You can watch a soccer highlight video that I got dragged into this past weekend. Dan Wells and I and other meteorologist Aaron Ashley got dragged into a little footy out there with those German guys. And that video is now on Instagram if you would like some comedy on a Monday, because Dan, okay, let's just bring it back just for one more time. So this pitch, if you've ever been to the pitch bar, it's right across from TQL Stadium. They have a little boarded-in pitch, a little mini pitch, right? They'll play games and tournaments, 3-on-3, typically. This pitch is not very big. It's much smaller than a basketball court. It's probably even smaller. Yeah, it's definitely smaller than like a volleyball court, but similar size, right? Compact area. You do not have to kick the ball very hard. But Dan Wells, let me tell you, what a leg. And he kicked that ball right into the Bad News Brads. It was not good. I was down for about 2 minutes of the first 10 minutes of that game. Not great, not exactly how I wanted to start, but at least this was okay. But that video and the highlights or lowlights from that, we lost by 1 goal. I don't even want to talk about it. That was on Saturday. That is on the Instagram. That's kind of stuff I post on there. I don't really do a whole lot of weather things on there, but there's pictures of birds, alligators, whatever else I found pictures of. Usually ends up on Instagram. Some funny things. You can follow me there. It is Call Me Brad, because I had a professor that refused to in college, so I've had that account for a while. They call me Bradley. I just wanted to be called Brad. Now I'm Bad News Brad, so follow me on those. That's a shameless self-plug. Let me pull the radar back up. I'll stop talking. I'll leave that up for about a minute so you can see it on the loop to see what's heading this way for tonight. Just remember, we have that first alert weather day. We'll guide you through that. Steve will be back on Wednesday so you can stop putting up with me at 7:15 if you've been used to seeing him. Some storms rolling through. One lightning strike there in Warren County with that storm we were talking about earlier. Just keep the rain gear close by. You'll need it for the next couple days. Enjoy, everybody.